Cristiano, and Australia lead the World Champions. Oh, great goal, Tommy Rogic. Irankunda scores! It's Big Josh Kennedy. Cue delirium in Sydney. Tail going for the spectacular. What about that? What about that? Oh my goodness! Book your flights, get your match tickets. It's a save that means the world to Australia. It's Bayern's.
Every 4 years, the football world stops for the greatest sporting festival on earth. Legends are made, heroes fall, and somehow the Socceroos always drag us along for the ride. We remember Cahill in 2006, Holman in South Africa, the greatest Socceroos goal you'll ever see in Brazil, and Mitchell Dew turning into our version of R9 in Qatar. And now it's happening again. This June, July in the United States, join us as we march toward the World Cup, embracing the chaos that only football's greatest tournament can deliver. So grab a beverage, strap yourselves in, because this is Red, White and Roo. Yes, welcome to something we've wanted to do for a long time. This is Red, White and Roo. Our journey following the Socceroos and the World Cup at large is officially underway. Harry, we've done so much planning. How good is it to finally be here?
Mate, it's so good. The World Cup's always different, and it's great to finally be able to start this show. It's been in the works for a long, long time.
And I think the most important thing to mention here is this isn't going to be a one-off.
No, this is not a one-off.
We're taking the Socceroos deep as they'll go. We hope they can go as deep as possible. But the World Cup, there's just something special about it, isn't there?
It's great. It's like it creates like a little time capsule in your life. You just know exactly what you were doing. You remember the games. You remember what the Socceroos were doing. You remember the key talking points. The whole world, the whole world stops for the World Cup.
Mm. I think also there's just such a fun festival atmosphere and nature to it. I don't know the tournament's been extended to 48 teams, and we hope that it keeps that same festival fever that it always has. And you can always think back to iconic moments and these different countries that get to host it. It's nearly every continent's spin on their version of the World Cup, which is always exciting. Now, welcome to Red, White and Roo. Listeners, we are very happy that you'll be joining us. We're going to be taking the Socceroos and delving into the Socceroos preparations up until the World Cup and throughout the World Cup. You'll get match reactions as soon as possible after the final whistle on all Socceroos games. You're going to get World Cup shows every few days and a few World Cup specials sprinkled in there, as well as a massive World Cup preview. We're going to be covering all the chaos, all the moments, and everything that we love that comes with not just following the Socceroos at a World Cup, but following a World Cup in general. Because the beauty of the World Cup is that it only happens every 4 years, and love it or hate it, or whether you're a football fan or not, it really does take a massive hold on headlines and where things are at in the wider sporting world. And this World Cup's going to be no different. It's arguably going to look very different, the first 48-team World Cup. And there's obviously the whole political drama going on involving the US at the moment, which we won't touch on. We'll leave that to the politicians. But, Harry, the Socceroos journey, it began as two farewell matches starting against Cameroon, where we farewelled them. It started against Cameroon in front of 24,000 at the Olympic Stadium. What did you think of the game?
Yeah, look, one of the all-time boring games of football. It was really it took out all the fairy tale thoughts that I'd been having about us playing attacking football and that we were going to be interesting. Knockout football from a small nation is never interesting. If we are going to have any success at the World Cup, it will be games like that. So, did that game against Cameroon get you excited? No, but we won. It was ugly. It was boring. It was terrible. But like, again, we won. Like, that's all you need to do.
Yeah, it was ugly. It was ugly, but I think it was after seeing the game against Curacao, I think it was intentionally ugly. I think this window very much so it became more of a thing as the window went on that Tony Popovic has probably got a really good idea of what his best team looks like. And when the more of those best players were out on the pitch, we looked a totally different side. But in this Cameroon game, you really wanted to have a look at some guys, and it meant that it was just a bit flat and there wasn't much togetherness or link up play. There was some highlights in there. Lucas Harrington, a debut at 18. He looked steady and calm for an 18-year-old who was only playing GPS football in Brisbane last year for Churchy, which was interesting. He looked completely unflustered. He looked good on the ball, which was I guess that was a really good talking point. The first half though was poor. We didn't have a single shot on target, and you're sitting there watching, going, "Geez, I know attacking's not usually our strong suit, but I hope this isn't a sign of things to come."
Yeah. Oh, it's like you kind of saw it against Japan. We get to like one pass away from a genuine goal scoring opportunity, and it just goes nowhere. Like it's you see it a bit. We get in our opposition box, and if it's not a counter attack, we lose our mind, or we just looked slow.
Yeah. Which, to be fair,
didn't feel like
Tony
we were
Popovic
fast.
does want to. Yeah, Tony Popovic does want to play that way. Like, he wants to kind of sit in a low block and hit teams on the counter. And I think if we're being honest with ourselves, is we want to get into knockout football at the World Cup. That's kind of how you have to play.
Yeah.
Love it or hate it.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it, but as long as it gets results, I don't really care.
Yeah, there was a big factor in this Cameroon game for me where it was like just sitting there waiting for time to go past until we got to see Nestroy Irankunda come on, where it was like, okay, come on, finally, we're going to see something happen. And it did. He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
He came on and immediately just totally changed the game. I was chatting to a mate during last night's game, and I think he's the most exciting Socceroo we've had since Tim Cahill.
I completely agree. Like, he makes you want to watch. Like, you see lineups an hour before and you see him starting on the bench. It's a bit like, I really wanted to see him play. He is someone I can see being our Mohamed Salah, being our Edin Dzeko, being our being our big fish in a small market team. Like, being our FIFA card where you go, oh, that country's Australia. That's where Irankunda's from.
That's where Irankunda's from.
He can
I
be
agree.
our guy, and he's exciting. And like, when he gets the ball, it's like he's going to take it on, which is something we haven't seen that for.
No.
Obviously, being quite disrespectful to my boy Craig Goodwin, but he's like him, and is it Toure? Him, Toure, and Boss. Yeah. It's exciting and it's fast, and fast in Socceroos is not often.
They don't go hand in hand. He's not.
No, like he's not boring. He's not a slow Mitch Duke up top. Like, it's something.
Yeah. Well, he's not. I mean, we saw Danny Juric make his Socceroos debut and barely had a sniff. I know he got a backheel assist against Curacao. Had a very tidy finish to get it home, and we'll get to that game. But I think with Irankunda, when we talk about I made the point, but I think he is the most exciting Socceroo since Tim Cahill. I actually think he's more exciting. Timmy Cahill, great in the air, was pretty decent with his feet, but he generally scored a lot of the same types of goals. Like, he became a bit of he's a bit of a header merchant. Irankunda scores every type of goal. He scores with both feet. He scores free kicks. He scores worldies. He takes guys on. He can score far post, near post. Like, he just does it all. And when you have players that do that, it means you can play in a certain way, but he also gives you a bit more of a creative spark. And so he's someone that will make people who don't watch the Socceroos go, I want to watch the Socceroos because that guy's really exciting. And I think it's so awesome to see that he's really embedded himself now in this Socceroos team. Coming off, I know he was at Bayern last year, but coming off, he's moved to Watford in the Championship, where he's scored some outrageous goals. He's been playing some great.
There's nothing better than waking up on your Sunday morning, on a most random Sunday morning. You open your phone to just see Irankunda scored from near on the halfway line off a free kick. It's like, oh, I was not expecting that for my Sunday morning. And it's actually like, it's been like 3 times. He's done it again.
And for Australia, he scored a few bangers for Australia. But I think the thing that people also just love about him is he's just so likable. Like we saw last night, he scored 2 goals, did it all. But he also had I reckon he might have had 8 celebrations up his sleeve because he does the big backflip and then he does the Michael Jackson dance move. And it was just like the Watford boys, I saw a clip on social media where they were talking about how it was cringe, but he's a big Michael Jackson fan, so he loved it. But I thought, again, like when he came on, totally changed the game. Hrustic misses a pen in that game. And then Geordie Boss, he is a fantastic player.
Yeah. Like he's tidy. He's very tidy.
And, Matt Ryan, again, had a really good performance as well. So I think, just to recap that Cameroon game, I know we had a penalty save, obviously should have won 2-0. Irankunda was a delight when he came on. Geordie Boss, excellent. Harrington, again, on debut, was great. And Matt Ryan was player of the match. You could sum that game up with that. It looked like Popovic was going to try a few different things, but which was much of what this window's been. However, I feel like we really saw the shackles come off against Curacao. He started with a little bit of a different team. We saw Bajic start. And we also obviously saw Mobile start as well, which he hasn't played for the Socceroos for 2 years. So to come in and have a performance like that, where he arguably should have had 2 in the first half, he had that volley that hit the post when Hrustic actually hurt his hamstring, when that beautiful ball came in and he volleys it and hits the post. But they scored. They had some nice players, Curacao. Like, they're not a bad outfit. Leandro Bacuna played a lot for Aston Villa in the Premier League of years gone by. Tahith Chong was a Man United Youth Academy player. And they scored a nice goal, nice move, got in behind, exposed our lack of pace at the back. And at 1-1, it was kind of like, are we gonna turn this around, or is this just going to be, are we going to limp to a poor draw or a loss? But what we then saw was an absolute burst of goals from when we made some substitutions and our better players came on the pitch.
Yeah, I know you, like, from the previous game, mentioned Matthew Ryan, but what he's been doing in La Liga has not been getting enough coverage. He's been having one of the all-time seasons. I saw a clip on social media that was like listed all his saves, and goodness me, he looks the best he's ever looked.
Yeah. One of his biggest criticisms is that he's a bit small. So when he was in the Premier League, he was at Brighton, and there was a little bit of talk that he was too small, and obviously he ends up getting pushed out because Robert Sanchez comes in. But he's had an interesting career. If you go through his clubs he's played for, like, he had a loan
He's
spell
a journeyman.
at Arsenal. He had a loan spell at Arsenal, which is just crazy. But I think what we saw after halftime, when we saw the substitutions be made, I think we saw a pretty close look at what the Socceroos will look to start with. We played a slightly different formation, which saw us have a bit more versatility with our wingbacks. But ultimately, Irankunda again stole the show. He came on and it was just different gravy. But to me, that also, it's very interesting to see how Popovic uses him at the World Cup, because if you bring Irankunda on with 30 minutes to go and the game's in the balance, he really adds a different edge. But if you play him for the full 90, are you getting that same edge for the whole time? That's the dilemma that ultimately he has to solve. But the reality of it is no one provides an angle like him for reasons that we've spoken about. But that's where you probably want to be seeing more from you guys like Riley McGree, Martin Boyle, Hrustic as well. And that's where maybe Mabil gives a bit of a different option. But I think the biggest question mark we saw out of this window, Harry, was I don't know who our best striker is.
No. And
it's a big question mark.
Yeah. They're all like we have a few that are on the same level, and that's not necessarily a concern. But you're kind of, I thought we might have got that question answered through this window. But looks like we'll be looking at the warm-up matches to see what is actually the case with that answer.
But the other thing also, I would have loved to have seen Mo Toure in this window. He had a 4 to 6 week groin injury. He is projected to come back in April 2026. So he will be coming back at some point this month. So hopefully he can get a really nice run into the World Cup, because I think ideally we would have liked to see him have a really good window and probably put a bit of a stamp on what's going to happen, which obviously Popovic brought in Ante Suto, who has not played for the Socceroos yet, and Mabil, as well as obviously using Denny Juric and giving him some caps. So he's clearly trying to, I guess, have a look at what are his options and what does he have up his sleeve, because it is a bit skinny, and which is ultimately in tournaments gone by why someone like Mitchell Duke's gotten such a run, because he competes in the air and he can move the ball on for guys wider and hold the ball up, and we just haven't really had anyone that offers an actual spark. They've tried Adam Taggart a little bit, but that doesn't seem to have worked, and he has been aging. So one person I thought, again, Geordie Boss scored a lovely goal. He was great. But Ali Chicardi at the back scores his first international goal for the Socceroos. That was a lovely header. Beautiful header.
Yeah.
A brave.
Yeah. I think what this team is looking like it could build into is one of the most successful Socceroos teams for a long period of time, for maybe since 2006. Like, you got excitement and youngsters, and like Mo Toure, 22, Irankunda, younger than Mo Toure. And with the complex case of Volpato, if you get him, you've got Geordie Boss. The team, we're getting a shell that can stay together, that are all good footballs. You talk about Sicardi. Like, it's exciting times, I think. I think we could see the public really adopt the Socceroos, and that was what I think the win over Curacao would have helped with, is like the public aren't that into the Socceroos, but they see that we won 5-1 and they go, "Ooh, are we good?" Like, yes, it's Curacao, but they just see the 5-1. They see Irankunda getting 2 goals. They see him on social media. They see his flips. They see, whoa, this guy's interesting. It could be a fun team.
I think it's exciting. Like, that's what draws people in. Like, I remember the team around 2006, like it was Cahill, it was Aloisi, it was Bresciano, it was Viduka, it was Kuehl, it was Lucas Neal, it was Mark Schwarzer, like all of these names and we played good football. They were good footballs. Brett Emerton, a lot of them were playing in the Premier League, and we just haven't had that big global major pull of guys playing at the highest level. And that's not to say that it doesn't exist. Like, Geordie Boss in the Netherlands has been outrageously good. I think he scored 3 goals and got 10 assists, and he's been fantastic. He also won their Player of the Month award 1 month as well. And he should get a move to a bigger club where I hope he gets to really showcase his talent. But it's things like that will, not that it should be the case, but it's the reality. Like, when there's exciting and the Australian public sees these guys being successful in major leagues that they recognize, like no one recognizes someone playing in the Cyprus League. No one recognizes someone playing in the Austrian League. So when there's guys playing in leagues where they go, oh, such and such is playing in the Premier League. I know I can name heaps of footballers that play for the Premier League, or I at least recognize the clubs that they play for. That's where they want to go. That's where they need to get to. And when they get there, it's going to make a really interesting point. What we're going to move on to really quickly, Harry, just piggybacking, you mentioned Christian Volpato. It's an interesting thing. So there's been a lot happening around people defecting and going to. It's just the nature of football and the way that Australia was founded, that people's families moved here and they were immigrants and they grow up here and they excel in football in our country. And it means that they are eligible to represent the Socceroos at the place that they grew up, but they have historic ties elsewhere. I think the Volpato and Segecic situations probably shine a pretty good light. So Christian Volpato he was 18 at the last World Cup where Graham Arnold, also shout out to Graham Arnold, he qualified with Iraq today, the last team to qualify. That's a massive achievement. First time in 40 years that Iraq has been at a World Cup. But Volpato was 18. He tried to call him up and he said no, and he said that he was waiting for Italy. Now, Popovic and Paul Ocon flew to Italy about 2 months ago, or about a month to 2 months ago, to go and meet with him and have a conversation, which he was open to, and he had a meeting and he said that he wants to basically assess things and essentially just slightly leaving the door open
And I'd just like to say,
for the
has that door swung with the result this morning?
Well, exactly right. So 4 years ago, he was offered a spot. They met him. He then said he was waiting for Italy. Now, Popovic came out and said, I think he's obviously made his decision. Italy then went out on penalties. Now, the other thing about Christian Volpato that I think has, I don't know how much of a talking point this is in Italian football, between him and choosing Australia and Italy. Like, he has not really been, he's been in the Italian junior squads, but he's never received a call up to the Italian national team yet. So he's 22 now. So the next time they'll be vying for a World Cup, he'll be 26 and also has no guarantee of being anywhere close to that team. Now, I'm not saying that that means he should just go, oh, I can't play for Italy, so I'm going to play for the Socceroos, because you don't want to be cheapening out your badge or, trying to sell the jersey of playing for the Socceroos. But I feel like it's now gotten to a point where it's like, I think it's time to just go, even if he does want to play for the Socceroos, to go, hey, mate, sorry, you've made your decision. Popovic's response to the meeting when they asked him about it was, if that's the choice he's made, I wish him well. That's all you do. Is that the right reaction? So the brutal irony is he waited for Italy. Italy missed out again. And then in 2030, he'll be 26. Popovic also said, we told him about our plans, what we're trying to do, and then the rest is up to him. There were no ultimatums or any pressure. So I think the Socceroos are probably leaving the door open because he would improve our team. But they are trying not to be desperate.
Yeah, I've seen calls from senior, old Socceroos saying, tell him he's missed his chance. I think it's silly. We're not in the market where we can throw these sort of talents away. He's going to make us better. You put him into the team we have now, and it's a serious-looking team. And I just don't think, you want to leave the door open, because him at 26, I think if he doesn't make the Italy team there, or because he's not beating the door down by any means. He's not looking like he was.
He hasn't been starting
4 years ago. No, yeah, exactly. 4 years ago, I kind of understand the decision, and big for an 18-year-old to turn away the Socceroos and
where he
play
grew
in
up.
the World Cup.
Grew up in Australia, played for Western Sydney.
Yeah, and I don't think we should turn him around by any means. I think, is it not good that he's not picking Australia? Yes, but would we not all do the same thing if we had a chance to play for Italy? Italy, yeah. We're not Italy, and we never will be Italy. Italy will always be seen as better than us. Let's not try to act all high and mighty going, oh, Christian, why don't you want to play for the Socceroos? I think you let him. I almost think you give him his best wishes. You let him have his shot, and you be back here to give him a big hug if he doesn't make it, because he is going to make us better.
Yeah, no, I definitely see your point. The other one is obviously Segecic, who has been who's been called up to a few squads for the Socceroos, hasn't played. He then essentially tried to call him up again. Socceroos found out through the Croatia FA that he was defecting to Croatia. Popovic's response to this was, if you're getting called up for Australia through the junior levels, then you get called up to play for the Socceroos, shouldn't that be enough to show that you're wanted? Should I just promise a player at 20 or 21 that he has to play? And then he says, it's probably better for Adrian that he's gone because I now haven't restricted him from going where he really wants to be. Now, again, another interesting one because I don't know, obviously maybe Croatia have had some conversations with him being like, oh, we're going to call you up, but he hasn't exactly been beating the door down. So he's represented Australia at under 17, under 20, and under 23. He didn't play a minute across the September window when he was called up for the games against New Zealand. And then he wasn't called up again in October or November, despite scoring 6 goals for Portsmouth in the championship. So it's interesting. You're always going to have these edge cases. You're always going to have these guys that can represent both teams. He said it wasn't easy to make this decision because I grew up in Australia. I could feel the Croatian Federation's desire to bring me into the fold. So maybe he's going to be involved somewhere. But I think, again, like you can't be seen to be desperate chasing these guys when there's so many people that would be desperate to play for the Socceroos. The Volpato situation is maybe a little bit different. In the sense that they've been trying to get him for a little while. And there's no harm in asking the question, but I also think that there's a lot of guys that do want to play for the Socceroos, and maybe we should be giving them a little bit more of our attention rather than chasing these guys that are maybe looking at the Socceroos as it's my last resort kind of thing.
Yeah. Thanks, Segecic. Like, mate, I don't know. Like, don't necessarily know what Croatia are really doing there because he is nowhere near their level.
Not at this stage. That's not to say he's not. He's pretty decent.
No, it's one that in hindsight maybe you go, yeah, I wish we gave him one game, but it's not really like he didn't deserve it. Like he's not the talent that you look at Volpato. Like it's sort of like, hey mate, like we'd love to have you, but we've got this bigger, sexier thing in Volpato. So you go and defect. We don't really care about that.
Yeah. And I think that's probably a really nice segue, Harry, into the fact that the stage is officially set. We have 48 teams that have all qualified for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. It took a little while to get here. Took a jam-packed last few days, but just to quickly run through these, we're going to finish on the Italian situation. But Iraq qualified for the first time since 1986. They won 2-1 against Bolivia. The Democratic Republic of Congo, they're going to be at the World Cup. Axel Tuanzebe, love to hear his name, ex-Man United player. A 100th minute goal in extra time against Jamaica. They will now face Portugal, Uzbekistan and Colombia in Group K. So Ronaldo's last dance has just gotten a new opponent.
He's just got some pretty easy opponents. Goodness.
Mate, boost the goal tally. Czechia, also known as the Czech Republic, won over Denmark in penalties. Back at the World Cup for the first time since 2006, which is huge. Denmark, ranked 20th in the world, have missed out on penalties. Now, Sweden are back. And Turkey are back. So Sweden beat Poland and Turkey beat Kosovo. So that means Turkey are going to be in the Socceroos group, which we'll get onto. And Turkey then obviously returned for the first time since 2002. Now Sweden are an interesting one. They came last in their qualifying group. They qualified for the playoffs due to their Nations League performances, and then have won their way through. Victor Gyökeres scored in the 87th minute to get through against Poland, and they're there. And then obviously the biggest story of them all, Bosnia and Herzegovina qualify for their first World Cup since 2014, courtesy of beating Italy. Now, Italy celebrated the fact that they were going to be meeting Bosnia and Herzegovina, which makes it even funnier. But the other thing, Harry, is Italy have not played a World Cup knockout game now since 2006. They missed their third straight World Cup, which is just crazy. Like, it's actually crazy. Like, imagine the All Blacks winning the World Cup in 2011 like they did, and then they don't make it past the group stage for another 2 World Cups, and then they miss 3 World Cups in a row. Like, you just don't hear it. It's unheard of.
Yeah, it's like 2022 was like, oh yeah, back to back. That's quite bad, but like unlucky. Like it probably like you don't expect it to happen again. But like Italy by no means looked like they were not going to qualify throughout this whole time. Like, yeah, they had to go the long way around with the playoffs, but it all looked a bit smoother this year than it did in 2022. Like, it looked a bit expected.
Well, the only reason they were in this position is because they had 2 bad performances against Norway where they got stepped on. And you are right. I mean, I watched the game this morning. It was honestly wild. I woke up, it was halftime. I saw Moise Keane's goal, and then they had they were actually playing really well with 10 men. And then Bosnia got a little bit they had a really nice 15 minutes, and then they scored. And it felt like the longer it went on, it just felt more and more unlikely that they were going to get another goal. And then once it goes to pens and they don't take the first one, and then they send Esposito up to do the first penalty. And someone who hasn't really played that much international football for Italy, is only just in his first couple of call-ups. And they miss that one, and then Tonali scores his. And then you don't even just hit the target. Don't blaze it over the bar. You got to give the keeper something to do. It just reeked of panic. Just panic, where it's just like, guys, obviously going down to 10 men doesn't help. Moise Keane had a really big chance to make it 2-0 in the second half. You sit here and you go, how have you guys managed this again? I remember when they missed it in 2018, just going like, whoa, this is a massive story. If you had told me then that they still wouldn't be at the next 2 World Cups, I would have been like, you're kidding. There's not a chance.
So what? It's looking like it's going to be a possible 16-year drought at the World Cup.
Yep. And it's already been 20 years since they participated in a knockout game. That's 5 World Cups.
Yeah.
Just to give listeners a little bit of a rundown, the last time Italy played at the World Cup was in 2014. VAR was not being used in football yet. Luigi Buffon was still playing football. Lamine Yamal was 7.
To be fair, Gianluigi Buffon retired like 3 years ago.
Yeah, but he played forever. Lamine Yamal was 7.
6'7".
Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo were 27 and 29. Barack Obama was still president of the United States. Real Madrid had won 10 Champions Leagues. They've now won 15. And Donnarumma was 15. That is crazy.
I was 6.
Correct. I was 16. So it's a massive story, Italy missing again. The tournament will definitely be worse off. There's been some chat that maybe they might take Iran's spot, but I would say they'll give that to another Asian nation. But what that did mean is that we now know the Socceroos group, Harry. So it's going to be Australia, USA, Paraguay, and Turkey. Turkey will be who we play in our opening fixture, which is interesting. It's the team you probably would have expected us to play the most. Looking at those 4 teams, they were the most likely opponent, and they are a good side. They are a good side, Turkey. They haven't been at the World Cup for a little while. Irankunda is probably their best player, I would say, playing for Real Madrid. He's been good this year as well.
And he's a good national player. He lifts to the occasion for the national team.
He's got passion for the badge.
Oh, he does.
Passion for the country.
And a very passionate country with passionate fans.
Oh, hugely.
And it is like, we're not going to shy away from that. That's not the result we wanted. We would have wanted Kosovo. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
Now you're looking at it going like, you've got to beat USA or Turkey, and both of them are not easy games.
And Paraguay had a really good qualifying campaign. So it just provides a whole interesting new angle. We really need to be making the most of that first game against Turkey, which again, I feel like we can get them. I feel like it's still a very gettable group. If we play with our best side like we did the other night and we show that flair and excitement, we have a good side. We genuinely have a good side.
Yeah.
We have a good chance. It's not going to be the same as it was in 2018, 2014, and 2022. We have a better side than we did back then. We've got more polished centre backs. We've got a great goalkeeper, some really nice creative players. The thing we've just got to make sure now is that we get to the World Cup healthy. We need to get to the World Cup healthy. Mo Toure needs to have some games. Irankunda needs to stay fit. And if we can get to the World Cup healthy, I think we're a really big chance to get out of this group, which, Harry, brings us on to an ongoing segment on Red, White and Roo called the Roo Meter. So the Roo Meter is going to be each episode, we're going to give an answer of where we think the Socceroos can finish based off what's happening in the world of the Socceroos right then. Some weeks we might be losing our heads and others we might think we won't even make it out of the group. It's a journey and we want you to be a part of it. So, Harry, I ask you right now, where do you put the Socceroos on the Roo Meter?
I think we will get out of the group and get knocked out in the round of 32.
Big call. So, if you think that, what's going to be our best performance?
Beating USA 2-0 in the group stage.
I like it. I think we can make the round of 16.
Yeah.
I'm going to say right now, the Socceroos are going to make the round of 16. We're going to shock the nation. Everyone's going to fall in love with the Socceroos.
We're going to get a statue.
Yep. We're going to get a statue and we're going to rip it apart. I honestly feel so optimistic after seeing the performance in the second half against Curacao, where we actually really took it to them. I know it's Curacao, I get that, but it was more representative of the players that will be playing most of our minutes at the World Cup, with others still to come in. So you give me Geordie Boss, Chicardi, Ryan, Irankunda. Give me them playing more minutes. Jackson Irvine back in midfield as well. Riley McGree playing more minutes. I'm telling you, mate. Round of 16. I might say next week, group stage. We don't know. Irankunda might do his ACL and we'll all be depressed. Touch wood. Touch wood.
Touching wood.
Big touch.
If we can get Sutar back to some kind of fitness, the full strength Socceroos team has a genuine chance of making round of 16. It's just if we...
They genuinely do.
But even
without Sutar,
crumble.
No, but even without Sutar, right? So I've got here my locks, who I think are locked on positions for the World Cup. I think Riley McGree will start, Jackson Irvine will start, Irankunda will start, Ryan will start, Chicardi will start, and I've got Burgess starting. Now, whoever those other centre-back pairings, whatever they look like, will be very interesting. Burgess has been really good in club football as well. And he's obviously very dependable. Sutar gives you that big, lanky, rangy, fast defense option. But the Socceroos have shown they've got, Harrington. He might announce himself properly on the world stage if he ends up getting a call up. We don't know, but it's going to be really interesting to see who else has nailed on their position. I thought Connor Metcalf was good. Aidan O'Neill was good in midfield as well. So there's some guys vying for some positions. I really want to see Mo Toure. I hope he gets to play against Mexico in their warm-up game. Is there anyone there that I've missed? Is there anyone there I've missed that you think is a lock?
Nah, not anyone that you definitely look as at a lock. But one thing I wouldn't hate to see is you've got Geordie Boss there at left back. I would love to see a bit of it. Like, he's that good. I'd love to see Alexander Zinchenko role. Get him into midfield for the Socceroos.
Mate, I
Get
agree.
him in there.
Well, one thing I thought was interesting is he does kind of float around. Like he does get a bit of creative license. Like there was in that when he came on against Curacao, there was a point where he took the ball left back and the sea sort of parted for him, and he just like dribbled at them. Like he literally just went at them. And he tried to slip the ball into Irankunda and nearly created a big chance. I think we'll see lots of that. They'll also probably to give him creative license. Popovic looked like he was playing with a back five with two wing backs, so he had three centre backs and two wing backs. When he goes on his runs, they may actually shift into a back four, so to give him that creative freedom, which I think is a good way to use him because he's too good of a player to be just shafted at left back. I did enjoy, though, Harry, talking about left backs, I did enjoy our World Cup hero as his Bajic starting. And just
I love
the thing
it.
I love about
It's
him
so passionate.
the thing I love about him is that he's a defender, but he's a defender that so desperately wants to be an attacker. He was sitting so high, where you're just like, oh my gosh. And I know you can split the three centre backs across to give you that more of that depth, but I was like, mate, you're basically playing left wing. Just love to see, mate. He scored that goal. He's finally got that first Socceroos goal to send us to the World Cup. And he's dressing for the job he wants, not the job he has. And you can't blame him.
You can't fault him. You can't fault him with that.
What he performed. So the Roo Meter, Harry, you're at the moment saying round of 16, and I'm saying round of 16, you're saying round of 32.
Yeah.
Now, these are obviously going to also evolve. So that's going to be an ongoing segment. Another ongoing segment, Harry, and this is going to feature the whole way through. Harry and I want to recapture our World Cup memories because the World Cup happens every 4 years and it's a snapshot of your life at that time. So we have started a segment called the World Cup Rewind. And on today's agenda is going to be our first World Cup memory. I'm going to start. So, 2006 World Cup. Those of you that are old enough will remember the passionate scenes of November 16, 2005, when John Aloisi scores the penalty to send Australia to their first World Cup since 1974. 32 years, and there'd been so many years of qualifying pain with who we regard to now as the Socceroos golden generation. They go to Germany 2006. Gus Hiddink is the manager, and they take on Japan in their first game. And World Cup fever swept the nation. Everyone was crazy for World Cup fever. And famously, Harry, as we know, being European football fans, Germany, not a great time zone for Australia in June and July.
No, we learnt that in Euro 2024.
No, my first World Cup memory. Australia played Japan. Mum and Dad had just had Angus, our brother, who, if you've listened to Talk of the Town, you will know him well. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet in our house. And I remember walking out to go to the toilet and seeing that the light was on in the lounge room and going, what on earth? Why is the light on? I walk in, Mum and Dad are there. They've got the fire on, the football on. And it was the game after the Socceroos had played, which I think was the Brazil game. I reckon it was Brazil-Croatia because they were also in the Socceroos group. And I remember Dad telling me that the Socceroos had come from behind and won 3-1. Mum was nursing Angus and also finding out, obviously, that we were 1-0 down. And Timmy Cahill scored 2 goals and Aloisi got another. And I remember going back to bed that night feeling so proud to be Australian. And that World Cup was really my first World Cup memory, specifically that game against Japan. And I still remember being in the backyard because I obviously loved sport, but like you just got behind any Australian team that did anything, that was anything good as a kid. I remember Tim Cahill scores a goal that comes off both posts. And I can remember trying so hard in the backyard after seeing the goal to recreate it hitting both posts. And so you can imagine a little kid out there, he's 8, trying to like hit it into one post and then the other post, and you're frustrated because it's not reacting exactly how you wanted it to. But he's obviously a professional athlete, so he's whacking it. But yeah, the 2006 World Cup, it holds a special memory in my heart as the first one I properly remember. I also remember that when we got knocked out by Italy, and like our old man Bill is not a big football fan at all. He appreciates it, and he always
still not
has.
over it.
I remember him that morning after the Italy game being disgusted, absolutely disgusted with Italy, diving, rolling, goes, they robbed us. And that was how everyone in the nation felt. And you look and you watch it back, and obviously Italy went on to win the World Cup, but it definitely was a what could have been. But that World Cup for me will always be nostalgic, and that is my first World Cup memory.
He spoke about that this morning when I told him about
Did he?
us recording this for the first time. He was like, "Oh, you better talk about those blanket Italians."
Mate, it was terrible. But anyway, that's my first World Cup memory. Harry?
My first World Cup memory is the 2014 World Cup. I've got two things from this. I don't know what order they came in, but it was the 7-1 Germany-Brazil and just being distraught. Like, just being so sad that Neymar got knocked out. And, like, because I thought that was the World Cup final. And, like, I just thought, like, Brazil were going to win.
Because you were 6 at this time.
6,
So
yeah. I was just like, I was a big fan of the players, had no idea what was going on. I was just like, what do you mean in the World Cup final? Like, what do you mean Brazil lost the final 7-1? What happened? They're the best team. Why has the best team lost? They were just meant to win. Obviously not realising it wasn't the final, and I've got no memory of the final. But like that's my first memory where like I just remember like just being confused. Just going, what? Like, why? And another one is a show that was on during the 2014 World Cup called Santos, Sam and Ed. Ed's
Santos
Cup
and Ed.
Fever.
Yeah. Football fans in Australia will know them well.
I just loved it.
Yeah.
Like, me and Angus used to just absolutely froth that show. It was
and
funny.
How we grew up, which was we didn't have NBN until 2017. So you would be on the old the recorder, making sure you're recording the shows so you'd be able to watch it back.
Yeah, and I like wouldn't have understood many of the jokes, but I just found it so funny.
Swept up in the cup fever.
It was great. So yeah, they're my first World Cup memories.
The 7-1 is an interesting one. That I was 16, I was in grade 11 when that World Cup was on, and I can remember waking up. I watched a lot of that World Cup, and I can remember waking up and going and watching it in the lounge room. And I can remember Dad coming out, and the score was 5-0 after I think it was like 25 minutes. 5-0. And Dad comes and stands near the TV, and he's like rubbing his eyes going, does that say 5? I was like, yeah, Germany are winning 5-0. And then obviously they take the foot off the gas. It ends up being 7-1. On that, another shellacking that happened in that game, in that World Cup, was the Netherlands beat Spain, who were the previous champions. They beat them 5-0. And Robin van Persie scores that diving header where he like lobs the keeper.
Classic goal.
And Dad was also out in the lounge room while I was watching that. And we were both sitting there being like, what on earth is happening? Netherlands won 5-1, sorry, not 5-0. And at halftime, the score was 1-1. Like to the point where Spain opened the scoring through a Xabi Alonso penalty. And then Van Persie scored a brace, Robin scored a brace, and Stefan de Vrij scored another one. And it was just like chaos. It was like, what do you mean that the previous holders, this was also the Socceroos group, this was Spain and Netherlands opening game. It was like, what do you mean that the previous World Cup holders have lost 5-1? And then later on in the World Cup, Brazil would lose 7-1. Now, obviously, the whole thing with Brazil then was that Neymar got kneed in his back against Colombia. And where they won 2-1, David Luiz scored a brilliant free kick. And there was this emotional
passionate.
Mate, there was an emotional outpour that Neymar got injured to the point where it was like they're like holding his jersey up while they sing the national anthem. And you look back on that now and you go, mate, you'd lost it before you started.
Yeah, like it was like they'd lost their Messiah. Someone had chopped down the Jesus statue in Rio.
Yeah, mate.
It'd been vandalised.
There's all the footage of like old men crying in the crowd. So those are our first World Cup memories. Now we're going to be revisiting this throughout the series, and we also want to hear yours. We want you to comment them on Spotify or message us on socials or comment on any of our social media regarding this episode or anything Red, White, and Roo, or even email the show at talkofthetown.pod at outlook.com, and we are going to read them out on the show because we want to hear yours, because we are passionate about the World Cup and we love World Cup memories.
Feel free to send a voice note in. If you've made it this far, you've done well. You're a big Socceroos fan. We want to hear we want your input on this show. This is going to be, there's going to be possibility for some guests on this show.
God, yeah.
Guests have been flirted. So
there is a lot to
really
come.
want to make it a big community thing.
Yes, we're going to look at the series ahead now. We are going to do some World Cup specials where we talk about different parts of the World Cup that we love, both Socceroos related and not related. We're also going to dive into Socceroos news when it is available, because obviously today it is April Fool's Day, the 1st of April. The World Cup doesn't start till June 11th. So we've got 2 and a bit months before the World Cup starts. So we've got a heap to cover. We will drop episodes when there is relevant World Cup news, like final squad announcements, the provisional squads that come out on May 11th, I believe, before the final squads get announced on June 1st. Then we're going to do a big World Cup preview just before the World Cup starts, where we give our predictions, much like we have on Talk of the Town when it comes to the NRL and the AFL. You will get match reactions from when the Socceroos play as close to after kickoff as we possibly can. It looks like the first and second games we'll be able to get them out very fast. The third one, we're still working out how we get that sorted. And then once the tournament starts, there's going to be shows every 3 to 4 days where we recap all of the chaos and everything that's been happening, and we will be coming to you thick and fast. So strap yourselves in, get ready, because Red, White, and Roo is going to take you deep throughout the whole World Cup, embracing all the silliness, the chaos, and the wild themes that come with the World Cup. And we want you guys to strap in and be along for the ride. Harry, it has been an absolute pleasure, and I cannot wait for the World Cup as it is approaching. Let's have a look. It's June 11. We are 71 days out from the World Cup. That will be here before we know it. Harry, it has been an absolute pleasure. That is episode 1 of Red, White, and Roo. And to take the theme, so to take the episode out in style, here's the theme song.
Thank you.